Well, welcome back to episode 4 of the Capital Properties podcast. This real estate agent here in mid-Michigan, Lansing area, I have been trying to, let's just back that up. A longtime friend, we connected a while ago, about a year and a half ago probably. But I've been hounding him to get on the podcast, and anybody in real estate knows, you're always altering your schedule and trying to get in and trying to get on and figuring out when you can do it here and there. But my guest today is without a doubt, and I've told him this before, he is probably one of just a handful, if not the most up and coming agent here in the Lansing area, and he knows that. Does great work. He donates his time. He does a lot of good things here in the community. I don't hear that from him. He doesn't brag about himself, but I hear that from others, and he knows that. So I want to welcome Ben Hockema to the program today. Ben, welcome to the Capital Properties podcast.
Thank you. First off, I gotta say that's super generous and very sweet of what you were saying about me. Half of it's true, I gotta say. You're just too amazing.
And, all right, time out. I gotta put Ben on the spot here. Ben is actually dog sitting today, so that just goes to show what kind of character he has. He's dog sitting.
Passed out over there.
So yeah, no, Ben, your name is definitely out there, and anybody who watches this will and knows you. Very personable, very generous with your time. So we appreciate that. So.
Thank you for being flexible with this meeting as well.
Absolutely. Ben, I just start off with a home run question, as I do with everybody. What brought you to real estate? Tell me a little bit about your path and how you got to real estate. Did you go from high school into real estate? Did you go college? Tell me about your path and how you got here.
Great question. So my pathway was a little unconventional with, I just found interest in it. I started out back in 2020 during COVID times. I was at home with my parents, stuck at house in our 100-year-old plus house in Toronto. It was a house I grew up in but hated because it was so small and cramped. And
I didn't even know that. You're a Canuck?
Yeah, I'm a Canadian. I'm not born and raised. I was actually born in Indiana.
Yeah.
So I have dual citizenship, but ever since 2006, when my dad brought our family up to Toronto, we were in the same old house forever. And during COVID times, we were just stuck in that house, and I was sick of it. And then my parents were like, you know what? During COVID, we are going to start searching for a new home. And next thing you know, they were never spontaneous going up, but next thing you know, we're through the buying process, and we found a house that I really loved. And next thing you know, they're buying it, and I was shocked and amazed. And throughout that process, I enjoyed just being on that buyer's end, looking with my parents. I felt the excitement that they had. And while we were there seeing houses, I started talking to the realtor just to see what her job was like.
Right.
And sure enough, I came back to Michigan State to finish out my time at college.
Yep.
And while I was there, it was kind of like the law of attraction. When after having those conversations with that one realtor that helped my parents out,
right,
I started seeing more things, more for sale signs, and I started looking at houses differently. And from there, I saw these two guys that really impressed me on social media. It's Dominic Lee, Scott Wheaton. Found them on Instagram, kind of on a whim as I was scrolling.
Yep.
And I checked out their profiles. They were both in suits, looking great, clearly successful already at such a young age. And I connected with that. So I sent them a message just on a whim. And next thing you know, I was having coffee with them, had a 2-hour-long conversation. And I knew that was what I wanted to get into, thanks to them.
Well, I will say that I've gotten to know Dominic. I don't know Scott really that well. Dominic carries himself well, and you got a great mentor there. That's important. That's important. I've had great brokers that I have worked with in the past when I was on the retail end, and he knows this. John Lum is another one at Exit.
Yeah, I know John. Yep.
He carries, he is the epitome of professional in this game, and that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
So
goes a long way.
Good for you.
And it clearly worked on me, because they had a great impression on my life. And
Mhm.
so, yeah,
Mhm.
I wanted to learn everything after meeting them. So they took me on for a free internship. They're like, we can't pay you at this time, because they were, mind you, I was 21 years, or I was 20 years old,
Yeah.
and they think we're 21.
Yeah.
So they had been in the business for like 3 years,
Yeah.
knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
I was just started, and they're like, hey, just follow us and we'll try and show you a good pathway. And if you're interested, continue on. And I did.
So you went through the classes, you got your license.
Yes. Yes. Actually, they're the ones that pushed me towards that too. Because I didn't know any of the steps at all. Like, I just knew I wanted to get into real estate, but didn't know how. So they gave me that pathway, and they're like, this is the course we took. We highly recommend it. And then from there, they paid for my license test, which is super nice of them.
It's awesome.
And yeah, once I got licensed, they were like, hey, you can continue with us. We like what you're doing, hopefully. And so yeah, I loved having them as mentors, so I stuck with it.
Awesome. Good for you. Well, you're good at what you do. You're good at your craft, and all you're always learning. So I mean, everybody is. Everybody's always learning this game. So
The
you got
teachers.
you got some great mentors to lead you to um, the down the right path. Do you remember your first contract, your first seller, your first deal?
I do.
Tell me
I
about
feel like it was yesterday, because I mean, it kind of was. It feels like.
it.
So first deal, I got license, like my actual license,
Yeah.
I think at the beginning of June,
Okay.
and Bob and Scott were like, all right, just start calling this list of people that they gave me, and we'll see what happens. I just randomly on a whim called this one person that was super great. I won't say their name, but they know who they are.
Yep.
Uh, and it was the easiest deal on the face of the earth, because it was a cash deal. Like only saw 2 or 3 houses, closed within a week, which I didn't even know that was possible. But Dom and Scott were like, "Oh wow, yeah, that you can close honestly, like as soon as you want for a cash deal, at that pace." So yeah, it was a breeze, and the client was incredible to work with. From there, I was like, wow, real estate, there's nothing to this. I was dead wrong, but it was a great, easy transaction. And it was for $75,000 dollars was the purchase price in Lansing. Really cute, small, like
Yeah.
2 bedroom house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you were to pass on some of those integral lessons that you learned to someone coming along and following you in the next couple of years, what would you say to them were some of the biggest lessons that you picked up in that first deal or two?
Yeah, within that first deal was really just like, if you're gonna be a professional, you got to know what the next steps are. And in that first deal, it was such a small transaction, like such a quick, easy transaction, that I didn't really have to learn the whole process, because it was just like boom, boom, cash done.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the next transactions afterwards, I really found out like, oh wow, I need to be the true professional here, coaching my buyers who have no idea what they're going through, what the process is. And so in order to do that though, I really had to sit down, get into the nitty-gritty, and learn every single thing,
Yeah.
all the different possibilities that can take place, because
Yeah.
real estate, it can go any which way. So you got to be ready for that and help coach the people who are coming to you to like hopefully know that stuff.
Absolutely.
Um, so learning that part first, so that way you can then bring it into the world.
Yep. Uh, those who are in the game, in real estate, retail, investing, or otherwise, know how important having that network of professionals to lean on, colleagues to rub elbows with for information, for advice. Can you talk to a little bit about, especially towards a young agent, how you went about developing that rapport with other, professionals in and around the Lansing area, Mid Michigan area? How you have put yourself out there to do that, whether it be through meetups or otherwise.
So very early on, I had Dominic Lee and Scott Wheaton to really help me.
Yeah,
Like I kind of piggybacked off them to branch
yeah,
off to their network.
yeah.
We had some lenders come in, teach us things here and there, and earned our trust. And
Mhm.
that's where I started to piece out like, okay, who do I like to work with? I had some great great lenders like Chad Dennis, Robin Berg with Union Home Mortgage, for example.
Yep.
He's stuck with me ever since the very beginning, where I had no idea what even a mortgage was coming into this, and he helped break it all down, teach me every single thing. So I would use him a lot for any questions, and I started to realize, okay, like if I need, like, there's so many different things that I don't know in real estate.
Right.
And so I needed to go and find the people who did know those things and really butter them up, try
Yeah.
and build that great connection
Yeah.
so that they can help me in the future and maybe I can help them back. So I send a lot of clients to like Chad, for example, for that help that he gave me.
Yep.
And it is goes like the longest way possible. Like I have had transactions where I need something super quickly, and because I've built up that rapport with those other professionals, they can help me when I'm in a bind, and I help them when they're in a bind too, if possible. So it goes the long way.
It's funny. I don't care. And you didn't share the name there earlier, but I ran into somebody the other day that I've seen on social media all the time, and we've even probably texted or messaged on social media probably a dozen times, but I've never met him in person. I met him. We
Oh,
went to we went to the watershed
I
uh,
think I know who you're talking about.
watershed the other day, and I had never, but you sit down and it's like, oh yeah, and you just kind of pick up like right where you had talked in the or in the past, and
Yes.
or it'd be Horrocks or wherever happens to have been.
Mhm.
It's like you know each other. So the point I'm trying to make there is, Lansing's a big city, but it really is a small circle of friends, and whether you're in investing, whether in retail or otherwise, a developer, everybody really knows each other and they try to help each other the best that they possibly can. So,
And one part I do want to touch on going off of that as well is in this business, there's so many things each professional has to tackle, and you're going to encounter a lot of weaknesses as well. That, like, my strong suit, I would hope to say, is like showing houses, like talking to people, getting out there. But early on, the financing side of things, like the numbers, I'm never been a numbers guy. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
realizing that that was one of my weaknesses, I really had to like lean on some of the other professionals, like Isaac Schultz, for example, he with Mercantile Bank. I have gone to him with so many questions for the financing side of things, like realizing that's my weakness and finding someone that can help me turn it into a strength.
I'm sitting here nodding because Judy Mason's that person for me at
Yep.
Dark,
That's
and she knows it. I called Judy. I'm
yeah.
like, hey, what about this, this, and this? She's like, oh, da, 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 da. She's so good. But yeah, I get it. Believe me, that's not me either. And you got to lean into your weaknesses. You're right.
Yeah, and like find someone who can help you get through it. And that is huge.
Talk to me about social media. I think even we kind of came across each other initially through social media. There's no doubt you got to use it as a tool. And, as they say, I think Gary Vee says it or somebody says it, you got to shout from the rooftops because nobody's going to do it for you. Okay. And you got to talk about your wins and your L's and your
Mhm.
losses. And I know, whether you're showing a house or whether you are talking about a recent under contract or closing you had, you use that as a tool to definitely try to talk about your wins and to bring that audience in and show people what you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about that and your comfort level there? And when do you think that it's advantageous for a realtor to post?
Great question. Just as a prime example of what I'm about to talk about, one of my second deal ever was through we got it through YouTube.
Yeah.
So the team that I was on, we had a YouTube page, and just someone from California out of state reached out in one of the comments. We reached out to them. Next thing you know, I'm doing virtual tours, and they got all the way to the closing table. That right there was a great way of how we would have never even been able to help that client if it weren't for social media. And so remembering that on how like big of an impact social media can do to your business, I've tried to, haven't been the best at it because it's a lot of consistency that you really got to build up and building that brand. But for the most part, I've tried to do some TikTok videos now, trying to just showcase my personality as well as I can showcase houses. So like when I do walkthroughs, I'm trying to be more consistent with that. Consistency is the key to the game.
Yes. Yeah.
But like
You almost
just
have to schedule it in your Google Calendar. You literally do.
yes, you really do. And like then there's Instagram and Facebook. Like those are great for finding new clients too, but also just building and like maintaining the rapport that you have with your already previous clients or just your sphere. Like Facebook, for example, like I haven't gotten any clients from Facebook yet, but it's a great way to celebrate the people that I have been able to help and just see all the other great things that are happening in the community. Like you have to stay up to date with that. Like
Absolutely.
there's things happening all the time. You got to be checking it and maintaining your brand. And yeah,
And that's the thing about it. It's brand building. It's brand. It gets frustrating sometimes because you see the engagement in terms of clicks and all that. If you really dive into it, however, if you use it well, the it's the it's the serendipitous moments. What I mean by that is what really motivates you to keep going on with social media is when you get that person from Florida or Texas, as you said, or California or some distance away saying, hey, I saw you on TikTok, saw you on Facebook with your post about a particular property that you have. It's those you're like, wait a minute, I'm thinking so small, my sphere around mid Michigan. That if you're using it well, I knew I was using it well, and anybody knows my story. I was a teacher, and my fellow teachers would give me crap all the time because they would see me come up in TikTok about my distressed properties,
Yeah.
and I knew I'm like at first I was like a little embarrassed. I was like, hell, if I'm doing it right, they're gonna
Yeah.
see, so
Yeah, I love your videos as well, by the way, about the distressed properties. I've learned a lot from those. But I mean,
um,
it's something you got to do because
yeah,
like
you have to put yourself out there for
in
sure.
a day, I can probably call like 100 people or door knock 100 houses. But if I do one video, I post it up and I can maybe get 1,000 views and from like
Yeah.
different geographic. So like, yeah, it's crucial in this business.
Can you share your most interesting deal to this point in your 4-year career? One that just kind of made you shake your head. If you can give any details of it or otherwise, or at least one that you definitely learned from.
One I've definitely learned from is basically like there's the house and then there's the personal property within the house, like a couch, for example. This one property that we were under contract for was more of a farmhouse and it had a big tractor.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't know the whole process on like to go about that, but my clients wanted the tractor. The situation somewhat allowed for it. Um, that being said, I didn't realize that like you had to do a different thing called a bill of sale to go through and really label it and go about it a completely different way. And so yeah, that was a big learning experience for me, and we had to bring in some other people to help out and kind of get the transaction back on track.
Yep.
But yeah, that's where I learned contracts are very important to understand if you're trying to get into business. Contracts, make sure you read every single thing and you know what comes with it and what doesn't. So
I think that is one, and the retail side, that is one of the most, you got to be ready to know all your paperwork and what you need to send out to your agent or to your clients, whether it be a seller or a buyer, through DocuSign or otherwise. That's probably the most strenuous, tedious part in the beginning is knowing what documents you have to send out and get back in a timely fashion. You got to be organized for sure in this business.
exactly. And just to put numbers into play here, that tractor would, I found out later how expensive tractors were,
Oh yeah.
like 25, 30K.
Yeah.
And that's just a tractor. If you mess up a contract for an actual house, like that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars like at
Yeah.
stake. So it's crucial to know what you're dealing with.
When you get frustrated on a particular point of a deal, what is a trait that you know that you got down? What's a trait that you lean into to help you get through those tough times when in any deal? Is it patience? Is it flexibility? What would you say is Ben Hockema's best trait that he leans into?
Transparency.
Yeah,
It's got to be transparency for me. I'm young in the business and I can't overlook that. My clients definitely don't overlook that too. Like, so just being transparent, like, hey, I don't know that, but I'm gonna go find it out for you. Or if something's going wrong, like with that tractor, for example,
right.
just be transparent and
Mhm.
like the sooner you tell everyone that there's a problem, the sooner you can solve it.
Yep.
So,
Yep. If you
yeah.
don't, it comes back to haunt you 110% of the time.
Yes, exactly. And people can tell when you're not transparent and when you're trying to hide things. So
And
just be
amen.
honest.
Agreed. What is now of course at your age you family or kids or otherwise you're not there yet, but
Not there.
what's Ben's why and when it comes to the hard times in real estate? What pushes you through? I got to imagine the learning process plays a part in that, right?
Yeah, I love like okay, first it was just, oh, I liked looking at houses and it was just a fun little hobby. And then I realized how like there's so much more to that. And I started uncovering a pebble here, a pebble there, and like more information here. And now that I'm so deep into it that I'm fascinated to learn more and just improving that way. But my deep down why I gotta be better than my grandpa. My grandpa was a great a great role model growing up. He's also big in real estate. He does like
Nice.
residential and commercial development all throughout America. And yeah, he's a killer in the game. And yeah, that's my motivation to be
That's
like him
awesome.
and maybe someday surpass. But even though I know that won't happen.
Do you ever find yourself just driving in Lansing, Ben, or mid Michigan, or what back home, and just I mean, if you go back to Toronto, if you still get back there at all, I gotta imagine you do. The history, the architecture, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
you
Oh, and I talk about this so much lately with my friends on how it's changed over time as well.
right,
And like I love old historic homes.
yeah.
Going through a nice like brick neighborhood where you can tell that's been there for a while and like the creativity that they had back in the day was amazing. Now things have just become more mundane, like just white or gray walls.
Maybe we could do like a collaboration and go like to different venues in Lansing, different homes or buildings, and talk about the history of them. Wouldn't that be
I
good?
would love that. Yes, yes, I would
Huh?
like that a lot. I could go on and on for days about the different architects. So
Or have somebody educate us about it. Somebody who does
yes,
know and
yes,
styles of architecture, exterior, interior, and all that. I think that's interesting. I
that
think
would be a big
anybody
hit.
who's into real estate, even to a slight degree, really appreciates whether it be a contemporary home on one side of Lansing, or you're going downtown, even though it might be a little distressed,
Yeah.
historic building down in Washington. You really appreciate the architecture.
Oh yeah. The differences in homes. I would ask this to my grandpa growing up on like, why is this house different from that house and that like you'll never find the same exact house ever. It's impossible because you can make it almost identical, but the thing that like there's gonna be a different location or different little switch and turn here. And I love that about all the like historic homes and everything. Nothing's ever the exact same.
All right, Ben. So we're going to start wrapping things up here. At the end, I always do a little rapid fire with my guests, and just to kind of get their quick take on things and see what their preferences are. Some might be one word, some might be a couple words, but we'll
Sounds
start
good.
with this. What's your? I kind of gave this to you in the beginning, but what's your favorite Lansing eatery? Not that you don't like the others, but what's one of your favorites?
My favorite in my heart, it will always be the New Daily Bagel. It's right downtown Lansing, and the owner of it, Michael Maddy, he was one of my very like I think like first 5 transactions. I can't remember which one right now, but he gave me a call, and I was in a Halloween decoration store, and I'm like, hello. like do my spiel, and he's like, yeah, I want to buy this house. And I'm like, wow, okay. And I was so excited.
Right.
And to celebrate, I was like, let me take you out. And he's like, come back to my restaurant. He told me all about his restaurant. He has some locations that he's wanting to open up in Toronto.
Yeah.
And every time I go there, he treats me so well. Everyone else in there knows him by name and comes in, and like it's just such a good feel good spot. And the management, they take amazing care of their customers. So yeah,
Business
new.
business, it lends so well to meeting so many great people
Oh yeah.
daily,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Okay. What would be, how does Ben relax when he's not doing real estate?
He doesn't relax. I'm I'm
Type
always
A?
like on the
You type
go.
A?
Yeah, okay. I play sports. I play hockey. Every Wednesday morning, I dog sit, walking dogs. And then I'm out hanging with friends. But yeah, I'm never just sitting.
How many siblings? Do you have a big family?
Um, I always thought it was a big family growing up, but then I started seeing bigger families, and I realized, oh no, I just have one brother. A lot of cousins, but yeah, just one brother. So
Yeah.
yeah, older.
What's your biggest pet peeve with a tough client?
Biggest pet peeve? Ooh, not listening. Not
Okay.
listening.
You got to
Yeah.
repeat yourself over and over and over.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, probably gotta rephrase the thing a little bit, but just like the point I'm trying to get across, if it's not really getting it. But that could also be my communication error as well. So, but
Tell me
yes.
your favorite non-real estate app that you use.
Favorite non-real estate app. Oh, it's gotta be TikTok. I'm on there way too often, but there's so many different cool things to see and
Right?
do.
Exactly. Please don't ban it.
I know.
Watch way too much of it. Real estate and otherwise. So that's awesome. Well, Ben, you've been an awesome guest on here. I appreciate it. You know that.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for your
Tim.
time. We're looking at that collaboration. We'll talk soon. But listen, my pleasure. Where can people push yourself here? Where can people get a hold of you? You have an email? Talk about your TikTok. Where can people get a hold of Ben Hockema?
You can find me on Instagram. It's ben.hockema. Last name is Hockema. That's also for my email, ben.hockema@gmail.com. And then my phone number, 517-940-0679. Give me a call.
You have to go through the spiel, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
All right,
Or watch my TikToks as well.
amen.
Uh,
Watch his TikToks, and he's got. I saw your the one with you had a dog. Weren't your dog sitting there a few weeks ago as
Yep,
well?
I have 50 different dog clients at this point, but yeah, I'm always dog sitting as well.
Been a pleasure, Ben.
Thank you,
Thank
Tim.
you,
Have a
sir.
great day.
Have a great day. We'll talk soon. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.